Welcome to Steel Beam Rally Team, sponsored by Clark's Corvair Parts. After the new paint and vinyl has gone on the car, all I want to do is get the fuel system in this thing, get some brakes on it, and get driving to get ready for the 2024 Press On Regardless Rally. But if I do that, I think my toes are going to hit the ground. So let's get this old floor pan out of here and put a nice solid Clark's reproduction in. If it was pretty good, I wouldn't mind chancing it and patching some little pieces, but we got holes here, we got holes, little tiny holes everywhere here, we got a hole open there, and then that whole corner is gone. Got a rusty crack looking thing up there, that needs to be taken care of. This has got some rust jacking and serious rust in this area. All the vents have to be taken care of and kind of fixed up. And then, this is super weird, but I noticed that all the seam sealer, the factory seam sealer, was coming up when I was vacuuming it. So I'm going to have to make sure that's all scraped off and get some better sealer on that stuff. After all that's done, we're going to go in here, clean it all up, do pour 15, and I think I might throw a carpet in it. When I bought that car, it did come with replacement floor pans, but I will show you, compared to the Clark's ones, and show you why I actually bought floor pans again. Here are the ones that came with the car. You can see that the beads are very, very minimal. I mean, you can barely even feel that they're there. There's not going to be a lot of structure here, and they're all the way flat to the edges, so there's nothing to go up on the sides and blend into the existing metal. Compare that to Clark's. We have, right off the bat, thicker metal. We have these flanges that go all the way up the sides, and then the indentations here are actually like factory deep. They're a good, probably at least a 1/4 inch deep, and it's going to be not only thicker but stronger for the thickness. You can also see that the cheap floor pans are not stamped out for the holes. Clark's ones have holes already stamped out, so it's pretty much appears like it's going to be ready to kind of cut that out, weld this in, and paint it up. I'm hoping that that's the case. Projects like this are never simple, are they? I want to get a good idea of where the floor is weakest so I know what parts I can keep and what parts I have to cut out. So I'm going to use a ball peen hammer here. The driver's side looks pretty holdy over here, but past about this line looks like it's pretty solid. So I probably don't have to replace all this stuff or get into the shifter area. Up here there's a big hole still. That's going to have to get out, and I think the floor pans go way further than that, so I should be able to get that no problem. Over here we have a hole, and that is a problem, so we're going to have to go up all the way to the rocker with that. We also have a hole down here, and that hole actually comes up into this cross member a little bit as well. On the passenger side, I actually pulled this out with my hands, so that was not very structural. These are big holes, and then we got a strip hole up there that's probably going to have to be replaced by going and maybe replacing all the way up to about here. We still have the same issue with the hole by the seat rail deal right there. So that is going to have to be figured out because the patch only goes up to about here. So I'll have to figure out how to patch underneath there, get something else in. I'm going to do one side at a time, probably do the driver's side first because it looks easier, and we will hopefully learn that process before it gets to the more difficult version. I guess there's no reason to waste any more time. I'm going to pop that driver's side floor pan out carefully around those supports, but I'm just going to rip the band-aid off because I got to get this thing done. An old glass fuse. Someone dropped a fuse in the car and it went in the floorboard. It's still good too. Save that thing. making some progress here, but in the meantime, I'm also learning about how the car is put together. This is the first time I've ever done any kind of floorboard stuff in a car. I've done that trunk floor in my Saab Sonnet. There's an old video about that. I'll try to link up here. But this is a unibody floor pan, and it's an very early unibody for an American manufacturer. So you get a lot more things going on, structural supports that you have to cut the floor but not cut the structural supports. It's a lot more work to go through and work on this than it was the Saab. So I'm just trying to go a little bit at a time and take baby steps, and hopefully I don't go too far. But yeah, I'm not very comfortable doing this, but it's got to be done, and no one else is going to do it, so it just leaves me to figure it out. Chiseling these spot welds out was a huge pain in the butt, and I didn't like doing it because I couldn't figure out where the spot welds were. But now that I come down here and I'm seeing all the rust in here, I'm looking like, yeah, I'm going to have to cut some of this support out. Luckily, the Clark's replacement panel has a flange there that I can use. So I'm going to remove this whole flange here and try to kind of recreate the holes as best I can afterward. But I realized that this is kind of tack welded in, or spot welded into the lower seat mount. Oh boy! Okay! I also took a grease pen and I drew an outline of where I want to cut this thing. So I'm hoping I can leave a little bit of a flange here to set the pan on. I'm going to leave a little bit of flange there, and there's also a flange on the bottom that holds the long pan. That's what they call it, the long pan. So I want to allow myself to maintain that stock pan mount location under there without cutting it out. Trying to come right up to there, but not cut any further. Alright, I went a little bit further than I thought I would. Ended up cutting all the way up to the line up here. We got this whole support here uncovered. We got the whole support here uncovered, and this actually goes back to only here. So there's really nothing holding it. And then I do have to replace this piece of sheet metal underneath the kind of upright, because that floor pan replacement comes up here and it's going to lay over this rusty piece of crap. The other rusty piece of crap is this seat mount that actually, yeah, it's moving. It's totally rusted on the front end. It's not touching anything. Then there's rust holes right here, right here, right here, underneath it. It just, the whole thing needs to be cut out. So I'm planning on, well, trying to source a piece for this side and for that side, so I have both of them, and hopefully be able to cut the whole thing out, replace the whole thing. But that means I have to locate this. So I think I'm going to kill two birds with one stone here. Got this seat bracket from Gavin, and this is for his 85 Celica Supra. Now the seat slider is going to work with my seats that I got, but I need to modify this bracket to go onto the Corvair bolt holes. Not very much modification, but I think I can get that lengthened out with the correct size of material. Well, we got our Toyota Celica Supra seat bracket modified to fit the Corvair now. I had to add a couple tabs on here, and channel members actually got to see a couple extra videos on this way early because I post things in pretty much real time for channel members. So this is all bolted up now. This is secure, so if I take all this stuff off, I can bolt this bracket back onto the seat bracket, and it will align itself as I put it back on. So I think we're all good there. What I'm going to do is go cut this bracket out, and we can either find a new one or fix this one, and then I can start cutting out the rest of the little pieces of rust up there and making some new panels for it. Let's go ahead, pull this bracket off, and I will snap this thing out of here. Yikes. We have a little floor pan patch to make up here, and the floor pan kind of goes straight, it goes up a little bit, and then it goes straight again. So I want to make that kind of up and over, return. I actually went to Harbor Freight and bought a $70 30-inch sheet metal bending brake, and I thought it was going to work great. It didn't work at all. I even modified the brake to try to make that return, and now I can't return it, and it's a POS. So I'm going to try to make it with a vise here with a little piece of steel, So I've marked out these are the areas that I don't need to have bent, and the shape kind of goes like this, rounds over straight and then rounds over again. Now it's not perfect, but I think it might work. Let's go fit it up to the car after I've gotten both bends on. I think it's going to be really close. Let's see where we're at. Just a little bit to trim here. Now I have a line to go to. So I've been struggling here with this giant piece, and once I line up the creases that I've made with the existing creases on the sheet metal, I've noticed that I have a big gap here, I have a gap here, and it doesn't fit super well over here. I'm trying to do three things at once with this, and I'm trying to bend this and patch in here, but also patch out here, and I think I'm better off keeping it simple and cutting it off here. I'll keep my kind of bent up piece as one piece. I'll keep my straight piece over here as one piece, and we can do this step by step instead of struggling doing three things at once. Let's just burn through the whole thing while we're at it, huh? Great. Well, I got this thing kind of in here. The cut and butt went okay. I think my major issue is that this is actually too thin, and I should have probably cut off the whole thing and recreated this corner. I don't want to do that. It's a lot of work. I don't want to deal with it. So I kind of tried to goober it up in this corner. Got a little hole there that I patched by tacking it like 5 million times. And unfortunately, with a lot of this tacking, I ended up warping the panel slightly, so it's a little bit low here by maybe 1/8 of an inch. The next step I was planning on doing was to put that strip in here and build this sheet metal back out. Unfortunately, that would cover up the bracket that is kind of a support for the whole floor pan. And this, you can see this, there's a little gap between these, so this is all the space I have. I already went through here with a wire wheel to clean it up a little bit, but I think what I'm gonna have to do here to give it the best protection against the weather that's coming in this hole and in the back is to do the full Pour 15 process on this. Probably do it up here in this area as well, because that's a whole cavity that's open to the weather as well. You can see my finger in there. So we can do the Pour 15 process on those. That'll give it a good coating. Then I can always come back and grind off the top here so I can weld to it later with maybe weld through primer or something. I think that's going to get us on the right track here. I feel like this project is going glacially slow, but there's nothing I can do but keep working on it. So we're going to throw some Pour 15 cleaner degreaser on here. Then we're going to do the metal prep. We'll let that dry for the whole day. Hopefully I'll be able to paint that support with actual Pour 15 tonight, and we'll be ready to continue assembling the floorboard. I reached out to a couple people about the seat mount here, and this thing is, I guess it's not a standard replacement part. I guess not everyone's cars were parked for years with the windows broken out of them. So I have a little more rust in the floor because of that water getting in there and just pooling up over the years. Anyway, let's get going on this thing. I see a lot of people online complaining about Pour 15 and how they didn't get good results, and a lot of them actually don't do the preparation work that you're supposed to do, that it says to do on the can if you want good results. So, if you want good results, do the work. This is cleaner degreaser. You mix it about 1 to 4 with hot water, and then just brush it on until it's all cleaned and degreased. The second and middle step in the Pour 15 process is the metal prep. It's phosphoric acid, I believe. So I have the exhaust fan on. I have both windows open. Can't open the garage door because Dad's sanding outside, but we're going to keep a lot of air moving in here so I don't have to breathe this stuff. So you want to put this on for 20 minutes. You want to keep it wet the whole time. You don't want to let it dry out. This is built kind of weird, so you have a channel that goes this way, and then this is put on top of it, and this is stuck on the back of it. So you actually have a wall that goes in and continues over to the edge. That wall doesn't go all the way to the top on this, and it doesn't go all the way to the bottom because there's a drain down here. There's also a little hole here, hole here, hole there, hole there. Lots of little crevices and places to get into, and lots of little areas for salt and brine and mud and all kinds of stuff to get into as well. And make sure it's all coated nicely. Just got to keep it wet for 20 minutes. Don't let it dry out. Alright, we're going to do pour 15 now. I guess there's a whole segment of the population that thinks that paint over rust 15 means you can literally just take bare rust and paint over it. Don't do that. Just do the 3-step thing. It's going to be a better product anyway. Just take your time, do it right. Okay, do at least 2 coats of this stuff. Wait a couple hours between coats and it'll be just fine. She do be looking good though. Next day, nice and glossy and covered, and I can't wait till my entire floor pan is just like that and beautiful. But for now, we have to move on to making the strip here. I'm going to cut one and we'll try to put it on. I'm not sure how it's going to work with this thin sheet metal over here. Part of me wants to go and build a new section through this entire area here, but I know that that's also kind of asking for trouble in certain ways. So we're gonna not do that right now. We're just gonna try to put the strip on, see if that'll work, and if that can work, then we're just gonna go with it. I'm gonna start with this side and tack this. That way when I am over here, it doesn't open up a gap on this side, and I can trim this edge as I need to as I keep going over. Let's get her done. Now I'm going to go through and just tack the whole thing up in segments, let it cool. I need to let it cool more than I did last time because I had some issues with it. Some of these areas are a little bit large of a gap, or this side is a little bit thin. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to tack on the thick side a little bit, and then I'll tack again, and then I'll kind of drag the tack across the edge there. It seems to be working okay. But I know it gets kind of tough when the gap gets a little large here. So I probably could have left this piece a little bit longer there. But again, the further out you go, the thinner the material gets. So it's, you know, how far do you really want to push it? Alright guys, this is looking pretty good if you ask me. I found out that I had my wire speed a little bit low for what I needed, and I turned it up a little bit and I got a lot better penetration, and it actually didn't burn through as easily. So I'm gonna check this for holes. How are we doing here? Got a little tiny hole right there, one there, and I think that's it. Just one here and one over here. Second time around, there are way more holes than I thought there were. Whoops. Guess I'll go back and fill all those in. Nothing quite as humbling as doing something that you're not comfortable with and just having to finish it. So I guess this is personal growth time, doing all the metal work on this car. Hopefully by the end of the floor pan replacement, I'll have some new tricks to use and be able to tackle that Greenbrier a little more confidently. Well, I've been folded up in the footwell for a couple hours now, and I'm not too happy about it, but I think it's coming along pretty well. I found out, unfortunately, there's some areas right here and here that look like the top layer of metal has been rusted through. There's a bit of a tunnel on the bottom, and that kind of goes up in that channel. You can see the two lines on that channel, and those kind of denote where the tunnel is. So what I think I'm going to do here is go into the car, pop the shifter out, because I'm going to probably want to get around that and clean it anyway. And we'll try to pop out the accelerator linkage deal. And we'll try to get all that stuff kind of cleared out. That will allow me to get underneath and really inspect what's going on down there. If it looks pretty good, I'll probably leave it. If it looks like it needs attention, then I'll have to go give it attention. On the front end here, we have a lot of seam sealer that I pulled out of these crevices. Those will need a little bit of a wear wheel inside, and then I can seam seal those. But I'm also looking at the condition of the floor here. And as the floor goes up, we can see that there's also some rust up by the very top of the footwell here. And if I'm going to paint the floorboards, I may as well go and paint all this stuff too. You may recall that the Clark's front floor pan goes up here pretty far, comes over, and then can cover and replace this entire center part if needed. It also comes down to the seat bracket that comes over to this kind of seat mount. And if I can get this seat mount figured out, which I have a call out to a used Corvair parts place, then I could just drop the pan in at this point. I think it's pretty close. There are a couple concerns though, and I want to go over those and just kind of be sure of what I'm doing before I go and do the whole pan thing. Not quite out of the woods yet, but I think once I figure out that seat thing and get the seat bracket put in, that's going to be a huge load off my shoulders, and I can kind of start to breathe, get over the hump on the project, at least on the driver's side, and get that out of here. Boy, I went under the car and pulled these out. This is the throttle pedal linkage. It goes like, if you imagine the floorboard right here, it goes like this. The pedal goes on this side, and then on the bottom side, this connects to a big long rod that goes back to the engine. So there's one E-clip there I could feel. I couldn't see, but I hit it off with a flathead screwdriver, and that came off okay. It wasn't super easy, and it probably needs new bushings. Once that was out of the way, I could get that rod aside and pull the 4 bolts off of this. This is the shifter base. So what happens is you have this ball that goes into a socket, and the socket twists and turns a inch diameter tube underneath the tunnel there. So once you take these out, these actually kind of hold on the piece of chassis that goes forward, and so there's a big kind of bracket that's attached to everything else. It's kind of welded into the chassis, and that's what this attaches to. But I would say that the long pan underneath the car that covers all this stuff did a really good job, because these bolts, or these studs I should say, were actually pretty clean, and these came off with no problems. And I can actually see the factory kind of green, I think it's zinc based undercoating in there. I'm at a standstill on these seat brackets until I can figure out if someone will just sell me some and mail them to me. And if they won't, I have to go out to the junkyard on probably Thursday morning. Either way, I can't do much about those for several days now. That means that before these are in, I can't put the regular floorboards in, and all I have to do is prep things. I'm excited to do this because it was so fun the first time. And I was coughing up steel last night because even wearing this, it's not fucking enough. I'm doing it smarter this time by grinding down and finding out where the spot welds are. Then I can cut the spot welds out and hammer them out afterward. Should save a lot of chiseling time. You know, I continue to be amazed by this car because I'm pulling this vent out here and everything is rotten all around it. We got this whole floor pan that basically just fell out of the car, and I go to pull the screw out of here. The screw is perfect. It's like brand new. I put the screwdriver on, I whacked it with a hammer, and it came right off with no trouble. So I don't know, there are some things that are super rotten, and there are some things that are like in perfect condition for no reason at all. Look at how nice that is. There's no corrosion in that thing. Amazing. I mean, the only corrosion is on the outside. So I think a lot of the corrosion here is just because it was full of water. And if you look in here, the rocker looks excellent in there. So I feel good, you know, even though I have to do a lot of repair on the floorboards. I think that the vehicle in general is in pretty good shape, and most of the fasteners come out with no problem whatsoever. So you know, you win some, you lose some. Aside from that, I'm having pretty good luck with the cutting between the tack welds here and just grinding the tack welds off. It's a lot less work than all the chipping and chiseling that I was doing on the other side. Going up here, I'm finding that this sheet metal is pretty good actually. Get a little hole there, but I think if I cut up a couple inches, I'll get some pretty solid metal. There's factory paint right here, so if I cut a ½ inch over from the paint, I think I'll be solid. Over here is the only real concern. We got some cracking that goes up pretty far into the corner. We'll just cut a little bit higher overall and be able to be consistent. Down here we're gonna, it's gonna be pretty close, but we do have some intact seam sealer that's not falling out, so I think that as you get really, really close to the side here, it's pretty solid. I think I'll at least get a good 1/4 inch or something to go through there. As far as the middle goes, I know I said I was going to cut out the middle, and I'm still kind of considering it, but considering I would have to re-drill these holes and recut this out, I'm not sure I want to do that. We do want to get in and patch some of these issues in here. We got a couple holes in the lower panels that are kind of underneath, so I might have to cut up a little bit just to get some clearance to get these patched up, but at this point, I don't know. I don't think I want to take this whole thing out completely. I was getting kind of nervous because the floorboard is out, and I wanted to see if it was kind of still structural in here, if the car is going to fold in half or something. So I picked it up, and the whole car moves if I pick up under the rocker. So I know it's plenty structural. I'm trying not to sit in it because I don't want to push my luck, but in general it seems like I'm okay here. Alrighty, that is all pretty much cut out. I gotta get the little corners with the Dremel, but generally that's where I want to be. I got up in here, unfortunately hit what appears to be a battery cable, and I'll have to get a new one of those anyway because I want to replace all the electric stuff. That appears to be a fuel line, so if you're doing this job, make sure you get that out of there. The fuel in here smells like varnish, so I'm not too worried about anything spontaneously combusting. Yeah, I got that cut up a little bit so it's almost flush with that upper vertical wall there, and we will go next time and clean this stuff up. I also have to pull this off, but I'm hoping I can wait till we get the replacements in to make sure that I'm getting what I want and all that stuff. I also have to make that second seat bracket to locate that. We gotta close this thing up here, and Dad's coming in the garage in the next couple days to paint his Chevy truck. That's got to be ready in 2 weeks for our rally. We're doing a lead car on that, and so we're gonna have to do some editing in the next couple days and get all this video ready for you. Of course, it doesn't just magically appear. I have to go and sit for hours and put these videos together. Speaking of, if you would like to help support this channel and the like $5 an hour I actually make on editing, feel free to join a membership to this channel, and it starts at $5 a month, and you get early access to videos. You get a lot of exclusive videos on stuff I'm working on, so you would have already seen this car a week or two ago. Anyway, something to keep an eye on. We'll be back. We are going to hopefully have parts to put in next time we talk. We're here at French Lake Auto Parts in Annandale, Minnesota. Gonna try to find some Corvair parts, but you can see all around they got what seems like endless classic cars. We even got up here a couple of Kaisers, which are pretty sweet. A row of Kaisers. I've got Tri-5 Chevys as far as the eye can see, and I'm told that they have one single red Corvair coupe early model. So let's go find that. We We got a 64 coupe. You know what? We might be able to cut something out of it and use it.
Better than ours, huh?
Yeah. Alright, this is the only Corvair here. We found that the floors were about similar to mine, but cleaner on the passenger side. So I did get some usable parts off it. I think we can do well here. We got some little kind of wiper motor, so that'll be nice because I don't know if I have that side vent for the inside rocker. And then I got some patch panels. This thing has zero paint on the bottom, and I think it's factory, so they must have built this without actually, like, that's why dipping the whole chassis on cars was a big thing when they started doing that. Better than nothing. So this is, I believe, the passenger side, and I cut up so I have an extra couple corners in case I need to use that for patches. And then this one is actually pretty decent. I think I can get in here and rebuild the parts, but this is nice. So that's the big thing, is that this piece is nice and I can just cut it out and do it. On the other side, the driver's side is not so pretty. We can see, wait, this is the rear portion, but I got another piece to patch with. Driver's side front, you can see that there's pretty bad rust under here, and then someone had patched the floorboard at some point in the past, so the patch actually rusted through as well. We're gonna have to work on that, but at least I have another bracket here in case I need to cut this up and re-weld it on the front. I can do that, and I also have all this stuff for sections as well, so I can rebuild that stuff as needed. I think I have enough, and if I don't, I will have a better chance at rebuilding things from scratch. Well, not quite scratch anymore. Speaking of scratch, I did not come out unscathed. I took those junkyard parts and cleaned them up. I cut them apart, so hopefully now I just have pieces of steel that I can trim and weld in. So we have a bigger part here. You can see that they were brazing the repair panels into that car, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to kind of match stuff up or to get clean stuff out of it. So a lot of the brazing I just cut out and said I'm not going to worry about it. Here we have the passenger side, and we have actually a kind of, like, there's some rust along here like mine has, but this is a lot better. I think I can cut it out and bend a new section in to replace all this stuff. And actually the seat mount is usable, totally fine, and I can just, again, hopefully replace just that strip there, keep all the indents where they are, and not worry about that. I think it's gonna turn out to be a pretty decent repair panel. Overall, just a lot of work. Might have to get the sandblaster in to get stuff in here. With that, I have another floor piece here, just some nice corners and indents. This one's a little bit worse, but still probably usable. Saves me from doing all the handwork to bend that stuff. Here's the driver's side. Since the passenger one was good, I should be able to use both the ones from my car in combination with this to reconstruct a full clean one. Again, rust hole. So there's not a whole lot to use here, but hopefully everything else goes together okay. But if I need this, I can maybe use this part or something like that. Otherwise, I'm going to do a little bit more wire wheeling on these. We're going to fill this with the rust remover liquid, and we'll just drop them in the rust remover for a few days. There's unfortunately some layers of different steel in some of these, and I just had to do a lot of work to prep them. So we were at a stage rally this weekend, Headwaters Rally, and lost my entire 3-day weekend to doing cool racing stuff. This project is taking so much time that I have to cut this video off right here. In the next video, we're going to come back with these seat brackets. We will try to make a patch panel out of these that I can put in the car, and hopefully that's a small enough project, sub-project, that I can actually bite off that and be able to chew it myself. We'll come back next time. Thanks for watching, and press on.